Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, listener. Unless your aspirations include listening to this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club. Go on and choke on this podcast.
You could choke all you want on however long this ends up being.
As always, we are your hosts. I'm Christian Pawan, and with me is
Pawan Mehta.
Juan. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, may the fourth be with you. It's a pun. It's
Very,
great.
very coincidentally, we are recording this on May 4th,
But you're not listening to this on May
2021.
4th, so this is
Time
already
machines?
this is a dated reference.
Time machines?
Nah, this is a dated reference. Or you know what? If you for some reason come back to this episode a year later, may the fourth be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Now, today we are discussing a film in the Star Wars franchise, a film known colloquially as Rogue One, a Star Wars story, right?
I mean, I don't think that's the colloquial name. I think that's just the name. The colloquial name would probably just be Rogue One.
Known colloquially as Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'd like to start off this podcast very different than some of the others with a shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Typically we save the shout outs for the end, but if you are watching a Star Wars property on Disney Plus on May the 4th, there's this wonderful art with each of the main titles. So for Rogue One, there's this beautiful art by Talisa Almonte.
Mm-hmm.
Could follow her on Instagram at Almonte Studio, I believe. I looked it up and I lost it. I believe that's where it is. It's very wonderful art on each of these selections. So it's a nice way to celebrate this made-up holiday. If you will. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Released on December 16th, 2016 with a budget of $200 million. In its opening weekend, it made $155 million domestically. It will go on to be number one for 3 weekends until it's dethroned by, yes, you guessed it, Hidden Figures. Which,
classic.
Delightful film.
It's a classic. I haven't seen it, but it's a classic.
Press really. Oh, you're telling me you're not caught up on your Jim Parsons filmography?
I saw The Normal Heart. He was in that.
Oh, I'm not caught up because I haven't seen that. Press release from the Walt Disney Pictures Company people on January 23rd, 2017. The press release says, Star Wars news, 1 billion for Rogue One, and the title for Episode 8. I guess they released the title on the day they crossed the billion, but it says, this weekend, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, reached a major box office milestone, hitting 1 billion worldwide on its 39th day of release. The film would go on to gross 532 million domestically and 1.056 billion worldwide. I think it's interesting to note more than half of its worldwide total is just the domestic box office, which is quite an astounding feat. At the time, it was the 7th highest grossing film domestically and 20th worldwide. Currently sits at number 13 domestic and 36 worldwide.
You know, I have one question before we get deep into this. Have they ever actually released a Star Wars movie on May 4th?
No.
That just seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but now you have if you don't release on May 4th, then you have 2 separate Star Wars days in the year. I want to say, I'm curious now. Solo, I think, was a May release. I know it was weird because it was like a summer release instead of the now typical December release, but I'm a Star Wars story. Solo was released on a date, May 10th. Ooh, off by a week. No, May 25th. I hate when they give the premiere as the release date. No, it's not the release date. It's a different date. But yeah. That was the release date. Pawan, what happens in this movie?
Oh, the events of this movie include our boy Mads Mikkelsen being like, no, daughter, you're gonna have to go away now, and I'm gonna go build a Death Star. And then that happens. And then she's like, I don't like either side because they took family from me. And then Diego Luna shows up and he's like, oh, I need you to help me do a thing. And then she's like, whatever, as long as I'm free, right? And then she helps him do the thing. And they're like, all right, we know where your father is. And then they go to the father, and even though Diego doesn't shoot him, the father's dead. It ends up being the same thing either way. So now she's mad at him, but he's like, even though he was really cold to her up until this moment, now he's like, oh no, I'm sorry. But like he doesn't say it, but he feels it. Um, and then she gives a rousing speech in front of the rebel people, and they're like, you know, and then most of them are like, nah, that ain't enough. And then there's a couple few that are like, oh, captain, my captain. So then they go to the place and they get the Death Star plans, and then everyone's dead except the plans make it to Carrie Fisher, and she does the original trilogy.
I feel like we have very different views on this movie. I'm gonna start that off.
What, you
watched it?
don't think she does the original trilogy at the end of the movie?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't. No, that that's not Carrie Fisher at the end of this movie, Pawan. You didn't know that?
Who is it? It's
Bob.
CGI Carrie Fisher.
It's Bob. You watched this way back when it came out, right?
I did.
What were your initial thoughts?
I was with it up until like after the scene where they like blew up my man Mads. And then it just started going downhill for me from there.
Really? Initially, I thought the opening like 2/3 were messy, but I loved the ending.
It's just so long.
Really?
The final fight is so long.
I didn't. All right, and you still feel that now?
A little bit less so, but yeah.
I enjoyed this film as a whole after the initial watch, but I didn't love it, and I was kind of swept up in it this watch. I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. I like how long it doesn't feel that long to me, that final sequence, because there's all the different storylines and the different people you're following doing different things, and it kind of feels like hell relatively for a Star Wars movie, and I think that's what this movie is trying to do.
I don't know. See, the thing that gets me is I don't really get that dude. What's his name?
Diego Luna, Cassius.
Yeah, Cassius. I don't get what his deal is. It just feels like at a certain point the plot's like, okay, now you have to like her, and then he does.
See, we can get into the relationship between the two of them after this, but I do think this is a grim movie, right? And yet there is this underlining optimism that is mentioned every 3 seconds with every time they say the word hope. But there is an optimism to it that I think helps uplift it. And I think there is no reason to have the optimism, but that's the point. They choose to be optimistic and hope for the best. There is no reason. But if there was a reason, then it wouldn't be hard. There would be no choice in it if you had the reason.
So I don't think this movie's that dark.
You don't think so?
It doesn't feel that different from like the others in the sequel trilogy, in my opinion. It doesn't feel that, at least tone wise, it feels in the same realm.
I found that it felt more, I don't want to say gritty, but you get all the explosions and the destruction of the other films, but you see people reacting to it, people without the superhero Jedi powers or the lightsabers, or who are worried whether or not they have the ship. And so there is, I point to the Death Star destroying Forrest Whitaker's planet, right?
Mhm.
Because we've seen the Death Star destroys a planet in A New Hope, and because of how it was back then, you don't see any reactions or anything, right? And then Force Awaken comes, and JJ throws in little cuts to the people on the planets reacting to the destruction, right? But in this film, it's a time bomb. It's not as instantaneous as I personally always thought it was. There is a timeline, and they're trying to escape and run as gravel and all this stuff is flying in the air. It reminded me a bit of the sandstorm scene from Mad Max Fury Road
Yeah.
in the visuals and the browns and the oranges and this film, the characters in this film feel so much more of an underdog than any other Star Wars to me.
Mm. Honestly, it kind of feels like it. This is like one of the few ones where they don't follow a Jedi, but it
This
still
is
feels
this
like
is the only one. This is the only one where they don't follow a Jedi, unless Solo.
yeah. But they're very much still like informed by the Force. Like they do have a member on their team that's like, I got the Force with me, but
Yeah,
he's just not the main character this time.
but again, it's not like there's a power. There's a magic power they're doing to manipulate and prove that the Force is real.
Mm.
This is looking at, rather than the people we who will have pages upon pages and books about them in the history books. This is the people that are typically forgotten.
Okay, so you know what? Fair. You want to know why I feel like it didn't feel that gritty or like dark in comparison or
Okay.
whatever you're looking for. The stormtroopers are still ass at shooting.
Yes. I There's what, 23 Star Wars movies, and I don't understand the stormtroopers as what they do. They never shoot, and they're defeated by a melee attack by a machine gun and getting whacked with a staff. What is their armor for?
Yeah, and like that is the majority of the interactions you see in this movie in terms of the violence.
But they're always in like this giant tank, or that first time the at is shown and through the smoke, like that's terrifying.
Yeah, but that only happens like twice or thrice in this movie. Like there's the space battles, but you don't really feel the weight of that.
Yes, but not even the space. But the first time they attack the city where they meet Donnie Yen and his friend, I don't know their character names, the two Asian dudes, the East Asian dudes,
Mm-hmm.
and they attack. Um, they have what, a blaster, and that's it. And I think the editing and the score do a great job of portraying this kind of fear and of being caught, of being captured.
I will say I do think Gareth Edwards, at least shout out to Gareth Edwards,
Gareth
he
Edwards Rogue
knows
One.
how to shoot a firefight.
Yes. Oh, I forgot he did the Godzilla
Yeah.
reboot. Yeah, uh, he does a great job in this one. He hasn't done anything since Rogue One. Interesting.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the with Godzilla at least. I really enjoyed his attention to like being able to portray the scale of the beast so well. Especially like the one scene I come back to in that movie is when the army guys are just like parachuting off the plane and like above the ozone, I think it was, or like something like that, and you see them go through all the destruction like in real time as like it goes through the clouds and then you see just red everywhere. But that's a different movie. uh
I think you get a sense of scale in the destruction from I really love that ad scene. I the destruction of Forrest Whitaker's planet as it slowly goes by. You get yeah, man knows how to do action.
yeah. um this movie had some actors I very much enjoy in it.
This is a terrific group of actors,
Yes, yes.
and I think it's important to note one of the most diverse cast ensemble we've seen in one of the movies on this podcast, right?
Mm, probably aside from like Furious.
Yeah, Furious 7. I think just like black people is the only. Well, you can throw in like trans and gay and that's definitely mentioned
Yeah,
here,
they need
but
a gay. They don't got any gays.
they don't. No LGBTQ representation, but just like you got the Riz Ahmed, you got Donnie Yen, you have
Oh, also,
Yang Wen.
Masensen, where's the women robots?
Great point. Don't worry, Solo's got one. Solo's got one. Oh, I apologize. I said there's no black people. Forrest Whitaker's in this. I mentioned him like 3 times already in this. He's just so separate from the other group. He skipped my mind. Uh, yeah, it's a real incredible list of actors you got here. I wish they only did, because the anthology series of Star Wars are kind of up in the air now with the rest of the Star Wars movies.
Mhm.
Um, I'd rather these one shots because you can get someone like Mads Mikkelsen and he's not attached for 19 other movies, so he's more inclined to do one movie rather than 93. Riz Ahmed is here, Diego Luna, Felicity Jones, Donnie Yen, Alan Tudyk is K2SO. Another Alan Tudyk role returning after Zootopia, Frozen,
Hmm.
Transformers, uh, Darker the Moon, I think was the one he's in. It's good if you forgot his role in that movie.
What
Very
did he
offensive.
do?
Very offensive. He's like a butler, but he's like over gays it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker. I swear, Forrest Whitaker in this movie, and I haven't seen this other movie I'm comparing to since it came out, but I swear he's the same character here as he is in Black Panther, and he's great. He's
Yeah, I
great.
could kind of see it.
Every movement he has, he makes a meal out of. Whether he's like moving the mask up to his face and like snapping it back to his chest. He's great.
But they really didn't utilize Mads well.
I was thinking about that. We've mentioned on the podcast that I believe that we don't think he's used well in this film.
Right.
What is using him well, making him the lead?
I don't know, like in terms of he didn't really get to showcase much range or like
But why does he need
just
to?
I guess. I
I
guess.
I agree. He has a very small role, a more minor role than we would like as people who admire Mads Mikkelsen. But I thought he was wonderful in the role.
Hmm.
There's this sense of fear hiding under this stoic nature as he tries to act like he's under control, like he's on the other side. But you do get the sense of uncertainty, and
Hmm.
he and Felicity Jones, in their few moments together, have this wonderful bond that I think is the strongest parental relationship we've seen portrayed in a Star Wars movie. And I don't know if that's a compliment to them or an insult to Star Wars.
Well, I mean, because the rest of the movies focus so much on the literal aspect of you are of my blood,
Yeah,
more so than any actual connection that they have.
yeah. And so it's
Which
great.
there are moments of this movie that fall into that as well.
But that's more of her being like, "Hey, listen to me, because I know what I'm talking about," rather than "You're special because you're of your blood."
Right. But but Masinson, what would the Jedi be without the midichlorians?
One, I rewatched the prequels last month. I don't remember them saying anything about midichlorians. All right, because I just fall out of my mind. All right, if we could cut out the 9 million extra books out of the canon, we can forget the dumb shit in the prequels.
So do you still stand by the prequels being ass?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, they are. They're dumb and fun, but they're shit.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like Star Wars as a franchise right now, it's not bad. It's not batting the like high
It's not.
numbers.
I think it's a messy. It's in a very messy place right now. But speaking of the prequels, I do want to bring up something interesting about this movie I've noticed in particular
Mhm.
is that in every scene from the very beginning, every actor is playing it at an 11. Everything is at such high stakes and everything is so over the top melodramatic. But I think it works with the place and where this movie is. If you're aware of the Star Wars line, right?
Mhm.
Compare that with the prequels, which is also melodramatic and over the top, but the actors are so drab and lifeless that it doesn't work. And so we laugh at the midichlorians line. We laugh at the sand line.
I don't know if I agree.
Why?
I I really enjoyed the acting in the prequel trilogy.
What do you enjoy about it? Enlighten me, please. I want to know why people like this shit.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it. I've been meaning to go back and rewatch it, but like, just like seeing the scenes and stuff, there is a way in which like because they're not like taking it too seriously, they're having fun with it.
They're not though. They're not. It hurts me seeing someone like Natalie Portman in that movie. She's one of the best actresses we have, and and at as she's about to become an A-list movie star, she's stuck with these lines, and she had so much potential in the first movie, and then she's just the wife and the pregnant woman on the side by the end of it.
I'll rewatch it and tell you about it once we get to the episode 8.
I was thinking like I bet you people love those movies in the same way I love the Spy Kids movies. In particular, Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
You know
I
what? There's like so many like script decisions in both the prequels and Spy Kids 3D that are just like no one would have went for it, and like because everyone's like trying to be serious and stuff, like perfection. Like Elijah Wood's whole entire like character in 3D is great.
no, it's not. No, it's not. As
Yo,
that was probably my favorite movie growing up. No, it's not.
he walks into that room. He says cake and then blows up. That's amazing. All right.
Why? Why?
As a moment, it's just fantastic. All right. And it's a great subversion, which everyone loves these days, right? He was the guy, except apparently he wasn't.
We gotta talk about doing. We'll talk off mic about doing Spy Kids 3D Game Over as a bonus episode when we hit episode 40. And if you like
Cake.
that, if you want that to happen, email us. Pawan, what's the email?
Billion. That's the email.
BILL ION.
Yeah. Are you making? Are you unsure of how to spell billion?
Next topic. I found this film. I mentioned that I found it darker. I think just the look of it, it looks a little grimier, a little more the actual film. Can I say that? Is that the word I'm looking for? The shots look grimier than than the Force Awakens, at least. I did really enjoy that opening scene. I thought it was a wonderful dramatic scene. And then the blaster sound happened. I'm like, oh, that's a weird sound.
You know that initial scene. It kind of reminded me of like the opening to Inglorious Bastards,
Ooh, in a good way or bad way?
in the sense that like I don't know why more movies don't do this, where they just start off with like a confrontation, but it's like mostly dialogue, but it's very tense, so that you set that baseline, but it's not like all the way at the top.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. It is. It is. We've done what 27, 28 of these, and so many of them start off with that action scene.
Yeah,
It's nice. It just to reiterate my point that this is. I don't actually know if I actually made this point. I think this is a more intimate Star Wars movie comparatively.
I like
Comparatively,
that we were able to watch a movie where the opening seconds weren't.
yeah. And I enjoy those, but it's nice today. I will say it was a little jarring scene in a galaxy far, far away, and then
And
the
no
opening
other
crawl.
text.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
felt
at
blue
that point,
balls
why
right
even
there.
keep in a galaxy far, far away?
Yeah, and maybe it's just Pavlovian, but everyone has that feeling, right?
Yeah, I
You
felt
just
that.
you have to do it.
But it's also like at this point, we know Star Wars
Sure.
and we're relating it to itself. So, in a galaxy far, far away from what? Like, if you're not going to include the rest of it,
Well, the thing is that opening scene before the title crawl or the title uh, is shown, right? Is what the crawl would have been. Shin
mm,
Erso was a girl on the farm. Her father was this man who was recruited by the Empire. So she went for hiding. It was found by Forrest Whitaker. Dot dot dot. And then it's her waking up in that
would
place.
that be where it would start?
I
Hmm.
feel like it would be because the open crawl is always just the exposition.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
And
Cool.
so yeah, it's a great scene. It's just you had me. I was ready for the music. John Williams music.
Well, I mean, what they could have done.
Mm. Puan, do you want to save that? Use that now or save it for later?
All right, I guess I'll save it for later, but I got some other good things
If you think
planned
it's
for
a minor
later.
thing, please share it now. But if you think it's a real great
I
idea,
mean, I was just saying they could have just set up Galen in the title crawl.
they could have. They could have. That's Mads Mikkelsen's character, right?
Yeah.
Mm, I don't think that works because he's not.
They
It would
don't
have
always
been.
set up the main character.
I guess you're right. I'll be honest. As I think about it, I'm like, what do they say in these opening crawls?
Yeah, they mostly just set up like the backstory of where they are in their fight.
Sure, sure.
It's usually not individual characters, or if it is, it's never about what their motivation is. It's more what's happening to them.
It'd be like Luke is on the planet now.
Yeah.
Like, cool, Luke's on a planet. Um, I briefly mentioned missing that John Williams music, but I enjoyed the work by Michael Giacchino. He's I know he'll pop up on the Incredibles 2 episode. I think we may have mentioned him on like Jurassic World. I think we
Yep.
did. The story for this movie is that my computer's back here. I think someone else was doing the score, and then in like September they're like, "Now we don't like this score. We need a new one." So they brought in Giacchino to do a new score in like 2 months.
They, there's a lot of stuff like that with these Star Wars movies
Hmm. Like what?
where like wasn't there a problem with Solo where they weren't sure what tone they wanted the movie to be in, like they
Oh,
fired the original directors?
you mean when it was supposed to be Lord and Miller, and then they got Ron Howard to finish it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the score is solid here. Giacchino is one of the greats we have working right now, and yeah, we're gonna talk about him in Incredibles 2. I think he did the Spider-Man movie that we're talking about, the MCU Spider-Man.
Oh.
So yeah, Giacchino's great. Giacchino's great. I wanted to talk about two characters. We briefly mentioned one earlier.
Mhm.
Um, CGI Carrie Fisher as Leia in the very end, and then CGI. I don't know the actor's name.
Was it Tarkin?
Tarkin was Peter Cushing was the original actor, who has since passed and was CGI'd in this movie. There was many conversations we could have about this.
Honestly, just recast.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because let me find the actresses.
Like I don't know why Disney is like Disney when they're producing these big movies, they're so hung up on keeping the same actor for like
Well,
this role.
part of what makes it weirder is that one of the characters, Mon Mothma. Do you know which one Mon Mothma is?
No.
She's the woman who like was like leading the rebels, right?
Okay.
Um, they got the actress who played her in the prequels for this movie, but there was an original actress in Return of the Jedi who played her. They didn't CGI her here, which probably would have been closer in time to this movie than the prequels were.
Hmm.
And it the first time I watched this movie, I was less aware of the Star Wars universe, so I generally did not notice the Tarkin thing. But now that I'm aware of it, I'm like, you look weird, you look plasticky. If there were no humans next to you, I'd be amazed. Like if I looked at a PS5 game, but because you're right next to Ben Mendelsohn, who we haven't even mentioned yet. I could see like the eyes. There's this lifelessness in the eyes. The face doesn't feel as imperfect as it should be. The hair feels a little glossy, even if there are random strands. And just I don't know, morally, something about that is really gross to me. Maybe Leia's a little different because Carrie was with us when the movie was being developed, but
Um
even that feels weird.
who was the original actor for Red Skull?
Hugo Weaving?
Yeah. I remember there was like an interview or something with him where they asked him why he didn't show up
Hmm.
for Infinity War or Endgame, whichever one where the Red Skull comes back, and he was like, they weren't paying me enough. I had a better competing offer and I went with that.
Damn. What do you think that was? Like the Matrix movies? What do you think his other offer was?
I mean, it was a while ago, so I don't think it was Matrix.
Hmm.
Like I don't even remember that being announced at that point. Because like he would have gone back for just a cameo. There's not that much money in that, and he would have had to work around the Marvel schedule for that. So he's like, why would I bother?
But that is a very different situation.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that he was even asked that sort of question of being like, this character's back and you're not playing him.
That is a weird thing when it is all the other people come back after years of not being there.
Yeah, but like, I'm just saying, I don't like that precedent. Just let people leave if they want and let other people fill the role, and like, don't just take people's likeness because they were there before.
They didn't take it. I think that's a completely different thing. I do.
Hmm.
There is a bit of the fan service of it being Red Skull, right? But they got Ross Marquand, who I enjoyed on Walking Dead. He's in the Red Skull makeup. The Red Skull makeup sells it. This was literally remaking a dead man's likeness, and that felt really gross.
Yeah. They should have just recast.
Yeah. Especially because, like, no one cares about Tarkin. What did he do in this movie?
He was like, no, do things better.
He didn't even do stuff in this movie.
He was telling the other dude to do things better.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I don't like, when these other movies have like cameos from people who are in the previous movies and they're just there to be like, do your job.
It does sound like they're trying to be better at it, at least. Did you hear they said recently that Doctor Strange is supposed to show up at the end of WandaVision?
I did, yes.
Like, thank God he did not. That would have been annoying. I'd like to bring up a person we've slowly brought up. This person at the side of this post. I can't put. There he is, Ben Mendelsohn. Starring his line of "I'm the villain in this big blockbuster movie," because he's the villain in this.
Mm-hmm.
He's the villain in Ready Player One. And then for like
where he plays the leader of the Sucksors because they suck.
I don't know if you're making something up about that movie or not. I forget everything about that movie.
Well, in that movie he was the leader of the Sixers, but the main character's like, but I call them the Sucksors because they suck.
And also, we'll talk about Captain Marvel in the future, but he's like, you think he's a villain at first in Captain Marvel. He was in Dark Knight Rises? What's it, Dark Knight Rises?
Who was he?
He played a character known as John Daggett. Maybe he
was
like
he one of the rich people? I think he was one of the rich people.
He was one of the rich people because I think Bane kills him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. At the football stadium.
I like he was in that Netflix show Bloodline. Did you ever watch that?
No. We were just talking about how we don't like how everything revolves around bloodlines, and come on.
Right. Anyways, my understanding is he had a huge presence in the first season, and the second season he's just sporadically there as like a ghost. He's barely in it, and he still won the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. It's Ben Mendelsohn. I love Ben Mendelsohn. We didn't mention story by John Knoll and Gary Whitta, and then screenplay by Chris Weitz and Tony Gilroy.
One thing I will say about this story, I don't like the precedent it sets.
What precedent?
Of backfilling things that would be considered quote unquote plot holes to like the CinemaSins crowd.
I don't like that you have such a thing against CinemaSins as someone who's a fan of them, but it is kind of dumb that this feels like it's backpedaling on a minor plot hole, but I do think they work it well and explore the rebellion in a more interesting, complex way than you typically do in the Skywalker saga.
Don't get me wrong. I think they did it. It's fine here. I just don't like the precedent it sets.
What later iterations of this do we get?
Solo's
not about fixing a plot hole, though. It is a dumb. There's a dumb
yeah, but then you get
retcon.
stuff like, oh, what's your last name? Oh, you belong to no one. You're so.
But that's just a prequel problem in general. Episode 3 ends, and they're like, oh, C-3PO and R2-D2, they've been with us for 3 movies, but let's just erase their memories because they are unaware of all of this at the beginning of episode 4.
I
That's
don't know.
just a prequel thing.
Just let there be inconsistencies. Fuck it.
Yeah. I'm saying, but that's not, this isn't just a Star Wars, that's just in general what prequels do. We're both giant fans of Frasier. I want to bring up Frasier now because he'll come up again later.
Will it?
That's my word. That's my word. But in Cheers, he's like, yeah, my dad's dead. And then Ted Danson guest stars on Frasier. He's like, Frasier, I thought you said your dad was dead. And then John Mahoney looks at him and is like, Frasier's like, I was mad at you. So I told them you were dead.
I mean, that makes sense.
And then Niles was like, oh, what did he say about me? And then Sam's like, Ted Danson's like, oh, he never mentioned you.
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. Because you don't talk about some people with some people, or you just like, no, I don't want to deal with that. They don't exist.
They were friends for 8 years.
Yeah, and
he was lying about his father being dead for 8 years.
Yeah.
I buy
that. I buy that. Nah, I buy that.
Retcon.
Fuck it, I buy that.
Oh, because it's Frasier and it's not Star Wars. You buy it. Midichlorians are retcons.
I mean, that one's stupid. Yeah.
Oh, now you're embracing the stupidity that is the fucking prequels.
I never said it wasn't stupid. I just said it's also good.
Shouts to Diego Luna. Because he's awesome in this movie, but I feel like we haven't seen him break out in Hollywood since then. I forgot he's in Y Tu Mama Tambien. You ever watch Y Tu Mama Tambien?
I did not.
It's a great movie.
The thing with his character that I don't get is like the first few times we see him that establish his character, he's seen as this like backstabber who will do whatever just to get through with his mission. And then the second half of the movie just completely discards that aspect of his character.
She calls him out on the crap he does for the rebellion. His blind faith in the rebellion muddies his interpretation of what he's doing. His moral compass is blinded because he's like, hey, the rebellion needs me to do it. I have to do it. Once if
that's the case, there was no moment where it felt like it landed for him. It just felt like a switch.
That's him when he was about to kill Mads Mikkelsen, but he's like, no, I know his daughter. I can't kill my friend's dad. There's like 2 minutes inner struggle of him looking at Mads Mikkelsen. I'm like, why aren't you taking the shot yet? It's like, no, he can't take the shot. Because now it's not just a dude. It's someone connected to him. It's a human being.
Also, I didn't get the connection point where he had with Jin. Like, when did they connect?
My thing is, I don't know if there's a romantic nature, but it feels like they're leaning towards it. But the fact that they only hug at the end makes me think it's platonic. Because a typical Hollywood movie would have them kiss somewhere in that final act.
But this is a kid's film. They can't do no kissing. That's not okay.
The Incredibles.
No kissing here.
Other Star Wars movies.
This one's more kid friendly.
This one's more kid friendly.
Yes.
It's the movie where they kill everyone.
Yeah, because they didn't kiss. All right, Miss Simpson.
Okay, so as long as you replace the L's with an S, it's okay. There is an intimacy between the two characters in that final act where I'm like, are you trying to push us in that direction?
Yeah.
The fact that they don't kiss is, I'm like, oh, I guess not.
But I mean, it still could be that like they were feeling that romantic connection, but they were like, you know what? I don't know this person that well yet. I'm just gonna settle for a hug.
But they're about to die.
Nah, I'll stand by that. They were just like, I'll settle for a hug this time.
But yeah, I thought Luna was great. Felicity Jones is great in this one as well. Um, I just saw her in Midnight Sky, which is a movie, but she's very good in it. Uh, she
Oh,
did
who made that one?
that's the George Clooney Netflix movie.
Oh,
I weirdly think you'd really enjoy it, even though it's not it's a little messy, but
hmm
the good stuff in it is really good.
I mean, I enjoy me some messy shit. Hell,
Like,
I enjoyed the prequels.
are you a fan of food fights?
Food. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Just the idea of a food fight.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were mentioning that animated movie that came out like in the 2010s.
The product placement one?
Yeah. I was
That was
about to
like
be like, no, I'm not a fan of food
it
fight.
was shelved for like 5 years before it was released straight to DVD.
Yes. Yes, that one.
Wow. Food fight.
I can't say I'm a fan of that one. Sorry. You know what? To all the fans of Food Fight who want to curse me out, Miss Simpson, what's that email where they could reach
Billions.
me?
Billions.
Cool. And not to be confused with the Showtime email where it's billions at
No, no,
showtime.com.
no. No, no. This is just billions. Riz Ahmed, fucking great in this movie.
Yeah. I was a little worried at first because I don't remember his part being that big. I barely remembered him even being in this movie. And
All I
then they were like,
remembered, all I remembered was a
you're
grenade.
gonna go mad. So I was like, oh, they're really writing him off immediately.
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
All I remembered was a grenade. But he's wonderful in this guy who's like a shell of himself, who's desperate to try to right any of the wrongs he done in the past, and this kind of lost soul.
In a sense, he's filling the Finn role in this one.
Oh, why? Because they're both men of color.
Yes, that's the only reason why.
Oh, that's a
Because
very
there's
white kid
no
reason.
other men of color in this movie or in this franchise.
No, not at all. Not at all. I was struck as we're talking about men of color. Uh, I'm not familiar with Jiang Wen, who played Bay Baze Malbus, the machine gun dude,
Mhm.
and then Donnie Yen is I think he's a little more popular in the U.S. Yeah, known for his work in Hong Kong movies. It hit me that like this is probably the first time I saw two East Asian men on the big screen who are just like friends, great pals, and
Hmm.
humans. Like, huh, that's great. And I love Donnie Yen in this movie. I wonder if there's a little bit, it's a little problematic to have the blind dude be like this perfect soldier who does everything
I
perfectly.
mean, he's the tough.
He is the Toph, and I that's why his first fight, I love how it reminded me of anything Toph does in Avatar: The Last Airbender when there's like a noise and his head just turns and you see the feet just like slowly graze the ground, and then he has this awesome fucking fight with the stormtroopers. Great.
Um, I think I pinpointed why I was more favorable to the first half than the second half, because for me at least, it really felt like they established the characters well,
Hmm.
but then they muddled their connections to each other and how they
Ah,
formed a bond as a group.
it is rushed through the connections between them because the two I don't want to say the two Asian dudes, but the two East Asian dudes are like, yeah, we'll join you. The blind dude trusts you, so I trust you too. I think Riz Ahmed's joining them worked for me.
I mean, yeah, but The main thing was like between Cassius and
Jin.
Jin.
I want that work for me. They're not used to having any connection, and in this adventure, they're forced to to interact and get to know each other. I think it is a little overblown, but when it's the end of your world, feelings are heightened, you know. So that didn't bother me. Alan Tudyk, I briefly mentioned, he's awesome as K2SO. K2SO is my favorite droid in any of these movies. C3PO's fucking annoying. I love R2D2. R2D2 does nothing.
R2
Except for,
C2D2 C2D2 the classic.
do you want to explain that inside joke to the listeners?
I mean it's just like mush together of R2D2 and C3PO because they're always next to each other. C2D2.
Isn't the story that you were playing a game with your mom?
They didn't need the whole story. Why are you giving away my personal life, Miss Simpson?
Because
what the hell?
Just why else would you mash together these two robots?
Because they're always there with each other. They're the same. Okay.
I'm gonna cut out the noise during the start of that story, and I'll retell the story without any personal details. All right?
Sure. All right.
All right. So we know someone who was playing a game, and they had to name a fictional robot, and they were out of words. They had no idea what to say, and they said
C2D2 very emphatically and repeatedly multiple times.
And as we know, that is not a droid.
No, it's a classic character, man. Classic.
Classic character. I don't know. Greg Fraser is the cinematographer. Also did Vice, Zero Dark 30.
Whoa, wait, Vice, like the movies from that one. Yeah.
But same year as Rogue One, he gets nominated for an Oscar for Lion. Well shot film.
Oh yeah, that was the movie. That was the Google Earth ad, right?
You can't not mention Google Maps in that story, though.
I don't know. I just could. I didn't watch it because the synopsis straight up read like a Google Earth commercial.
But that's what the dude did in real life. He used Google Maps to find where he lived.
You could reword it so that it doesn't sound like a commercial for Google Earth.
Why did you read the synopsis? Whatever. Oh, he also has an Emmy for cinematography of The Mandalorian, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is very well shot.
It is a Star Wars.
And he's currently attached to The Batman. You know, Pawan, I did want to bring when talking about how the way stuff shot, right? There's this article, this headline passed around throughout this week of the upcoming film, The Eternals, the MCU film coming later this year. Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. The story goes that she kind of shot some stuff on her own to show Kevin Feige, and he was kind of shocked that she shot stuff. He was like, outside. How did you shoot this? And she was like, yeah, I shot this on location outside. And the internet's blowing that up because it sounds like Disney was unaware they could shoot stuff on location. But I was looking at the beach scenes in this film and was shocked at how good it looked. And if that is all CGI, which we assume it is, yes.
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be CGI. You can just set up a, set.
I'm just saying, this film looks incredible. I don't remember it looking this good. The beach scene, the beach setting at the end is gorgeous and so different from the typical dark, cavernous starship or forest there in a Star Wars movie. And the way the sand flies up in the air while shots are taken, and palm trees are falling and the water. It was a sight to see. Big fan. I was a big fan.
It was solid. But like, I mean, it's aight, but like, come on, shoot outside. We got to get that sun.
I don't know if you could make an at outside. That's the thing.
Like
When you're doing the acting sequences-
you remember like in college when like I don't know if you had this where like the professor would be like, if you had a real cool professor, they'd be like, you know what? Let's go outside today.
You never had that. We always asked our professors to, and they was like, haha, that's funny.
So you
Your-
didn't
Your college professors do that?
see all those professors. They were like Kevin Feige. They didn't know it was possible.
Yeah, they did it. It's even worse when like there were times the teacher would come in and joke about it before the students did. It's like, no. That would be like starting your film with in a galaxy far, far away, but not giving it an opening crawl. All right.
Yeah, it's a cock tease.
Yeah.
Like
I don't wanna use
why
the
you
term
gonna tease it when just give it to us?
feed the chicken? We're talking about chickens, right?
Totally. What else is there? Honestly, the idea of the Death Star is still such a big joke to me. Just overall.
I think the fact that it's so repeatedly used within a film. I think this one gets a pass because it's so linked to episode 4. But the pass is like close expiration, especially when there's like 9 other movies that mention Death Stars.
But also just like was it the original trilogy where there was like 2 or 3 different Death Stars?
Yeah, episode 4 and 6. Both Death Stars. Episode 7's a Death Star.
Just like every other movie, they're like, you know what? Crank open those old files. Let's pull that one out of the archives.
In episode 7, it's bigger.
They made a bigger ball.
I did.
Like I can't believe like they're just so tied to iconography that like it starts to feel a bit like a joke. Like
Or-
tactically, is a big ball really your best strategy?
So what, you saying they should make a star? It's a Star Destroyer. Oh no, Death Star? What is it? Death? It is the Death Star, right?
Yes.
Yeah, why is it a fucking star? Make it a star shape. They have those in Star Wars, right?
Do they have things that are star shaped?
I don't know. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Hmm.
Do you have anything else you want to there's 2 other things I'd like to touch on, but I'm just curious. Is there anything else you want to bring up?
I was watching those sky fights.
Mhm.
And like it seemed like the victor was always decided by who was behind who.
Yeah. Have you seen a Star Wars before?
Yeah, but like we'll get into this later. I have some ideas.
I wanted to bring up two things. One, there was this little moment after Rogue One decides they're going to become Rogue One, and they're like, let's go. And then Jin and Cassius have this little moment where she where's the line? She says she's not used to people sticking around when things get bad, and he kind of leans in and pats on her shoulder as he says, "Welcome home." As he pulls back out, he was blocking some light, and so the light kind of shines on her face after "Welcome home," and I really like the way it sat on her face as she kind of has this feeling of being home.
Fair enough.
Nice. And,
One thing I will say is usually I hate name drops in movies like with the scripts and stuff, or even like names that are found because it never feels natural.
such as, I think I know what you're talking about, but can you elaborate on this film?
Well, a perfect example is Solo and the fact that he decided to keep that.
But in this one, Pawan.
Well, when he was like, I guess we're Rogue One. I actually like that.
Oh,
Because,
you're
like-
talking about when the movie title is mentioned, said.
Yeah.
You mean like we're some kind of Suicide Squad?
Oh, that classic. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a great one in this one. I forgot that's why it's called Rogue One. I'll be
Because
honest.
like it, in a sense, it does and doesn't hold that much weight.
Yeah.
Because like it is just a ship that they named. So of course they're gonna, it's not gonna be this huge thing where they have to think about it for a while. And yeah, I just liked it.
But it's on the spot and makeshift and weirdly fits.
Yeah. But it's
Which I
not
think
like, yeah. And it is defining, but it's not in terms of like personal identifications.
yeah.
I don't know. That's where it gets me.
Yeah. No, it's a great title. Um we didn't even mention I thought you were gonna bring up the scene. I mentioned Grand Moff uh Mon Mothma, I think her name's like Mon Mothma earlier. There's a scene where she's talking to the dude. I don't know if you realize the dude is Leia's dad, her adopted father. He's also in the prequels. And she's like, "Oh, we gotta talk to some people." He's like, "Oh, I think I know someone." And it's like, "Oh, you're." He was like, I know someone from the Clone Wars." So I was like, "Oh, that's Obi-Wan." And she's like, "Oh, is there someone? Is there someone you trust to give him the message?" And he's like, "Oh, I trust this person, and it's Leia, because Leia's gonna give him the message." Like, oh, we did that. I didn't need that scene. I
Uh,
also, it
well,
occurred to
I
me,
don't think it was that bad because they didn't, he wasn't actually like Princess
yes,
Leia. Like,
yes,
oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's perfect.
it's not egregious, obvious uh fan service. I just found it to be such a weird detour in the flow of the film.
I don't know. For me, that felt like setup along with the rest of that part.
That's fair. I I I am not as big of a fan of the Darth Vader stuff in this film as I was before.
Yeah, that scene really confused me when I saw it in the theaters.
It is. I understand. I still felt it was kind of like a badass scene, you know. Like
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone was cheering when I saw it in theaters.
I think it's mainly because we all love the iconography of Darth Vader after 40 so years, right? But if you watch the original movies, he doesn't do much due to technical limitations of the time. So this is the first time Darth Vader actually does some scary shit and kills everyone.
I'll be honest, it kind of reminded me of some like Battlefront shit. It was some
Yeah,
Battlefront shit.
it was. It was a power. It was like power fantasy, and I think
Yeah,
that just
which
you
doesn't
don't
really
typically
work in
see that
this
show up.
movie.
It doesn't. Which brings to my other point of that scene is I forgot it was right after they died.
Yeah,
It felt like the movie should have ended there, and it kept going. I
because
always re-
they had to make the original trilogy happen. Miss
and
Simpson, come
I
on.
don't mind the Leia stuff. I didn't need the Vader stuff. That's as well shot and executed as that scene is. It is from a different movie.
Yeah,
I think the Leia stuff you can argue is yes, this is it's full circle. This is meant to be a prequel to Episode 4. I understand why they're throwing that in, and she has that line about hope. But the Vader, as well executed, it is oddly in there.
it doesn't serve the story this movie's trying to tell.
No, but it was their one shot to do a cool Vader scene. It's weird when I think of is the Jedi Fallen Order the video game, right?
Yeah.
He shows up in the end, but you don't fight him. You run away from him. I'm like, why do you have Vader there and I can't fight Vader? Because of canon?
Wasn't there the Star Wars games on Xbox 360 and PS3? What were those? There was like two of them.
I know what you're talking about, but those aren't canon anymore.
But like in those
Force
you deal with,
Unleashed.
yeah,
Force
in those
Unleashed.
you deal with Vader, don't you?
I don't know. I never played them. For a second, I was like, "Are you talking about Soul Calibur? Our favorite Star Wars game, Soul Calibur."
No, I played the version of that had. I didn't play the version that had this character. I played the version that had this character.
So you played on the 360 with Yoda, not
No,
PS3.
I didn't play either version. I just felt like
Oh, okay.
it just fit
Good show.
perfectly. So yeah.
The other thing I want to bring up was the end the ending of Jin and Cassius.
Mhm.
I just all the death scenes in general. I love the KTSO death, and I think starting off with Become the Droid is a nice little tease of shit's gonna happen. I found the Donnie Yen one. I loved that execution, and I love how spontaneous and out, so fresh off of a personal victory Riz Ahmed's was. The machine gun guy I didn't love as much. That felt drawn out and like nothing really happened. He just kind of died.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you put all of these back to back to back to back, you can't really feel the weight of all of them.
I say I felt them, except for his. His was the only one I didn't love.
Like it feels like they because you don't reset the baseline before just going into the death. That just becomes the normal, so you don't really feel it in its own regard. It just becomes another thing that is happening for the.
I
Well, it
found it.
doesn't hit as hard as it would if it was in
Yes,
isolation.
yes, but I found it hit in three waves. The first wave being K2SO, when you're like, shit, some people might die, and then you had the three Asian dudes all died in quick succession. Like, oh, everyone's dying, and the big ginormous grand finale that was Jin and Cassius dying as a whole. And I will say I liked the music was, it felt very victorious once they sent the plans up, and it continued up until they die. And although it's kind of the same music, it feels a lot more somber with the events that are happening. And I Giacchino is just great. I really loved what he did there. Okay.
Word.
And that's what I got to say about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Yeah, anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Right. Now, before we enter this next segment, I apologize. I have to run to the bathroom. So I'm going to do that real quick.
Mhm. What I will say about Mads Mikkelsen, you go, I don't need you. What I will say about Mads Mikkelsen is that yes, he does do a great job in this role, but it doesn't really showcase all of Mads Mikkelsen because he is great at portraying that sort of poise. Everyone knows he's great at that poise, but he is such a what's the word? Just like a full-bodied actor. Like he is very precise with his movements, but there's still so much joy in there. If the scene or like if the role calls for it. For example, the most recent movie he was in, which won the Oscar for Best Foreign Film, Another Round. That ending, man, he danced his ass off, and you don't see that too often because his look and like his overall demeanor, he can sell like stoic really well, but like there's that fun side just right around the corner, just like begging to come out, but no, but usually he's not allowed to let it come out. It's very sad, very sad.
So fun. We discussed some of the stuff that happened in this movie.
But you know what, no movie's perfect.
No. Sometimes you gotta take the Death Star and make it a bigger Death Star.
So Simpson, what would you do? What would you do with this hunk of movie before us? It's laid out on the table. What would you do to mix things up?
I have a fucking idea. All right.
Okay.
Remember earlier when I said, "Hey, I'm gonna bring up Frasier again."
Yes.
So season 2 of Frasier. There's an episode. Well, I think it deals with Lilith. For the uninitiated, Frasier Crane spinoff had a spinoff show, Frasier, in the original show Cheers. He was married to Lilith Sterling Crane. They have a rocking relationship, and in the time between the two shows, they divorce. She has a recurring presence on Frasier.
Yes.
And there's one episode where they shot the ending, and the joke is, "Oh, Lilith's there," because he's like talking about his exes or whatever, and then she pops up in a dream. The day the show was to air, the people at Frasier said, "Hey, people at NBC, we gotta do a little tweak, just a little something to Frasier. It's not a big deal, but can we change it?" So NBC was like, "Sure, all right." And so the Frasier people did it, and then they gave it to NBC, who didn't have the time to look at it. They just played it and trusted the Frasier people. And so the episode ends, and rather than the gag being that Lilith's there, it's Diane, Shelley Long from Cheers is there, who Frasier also dated. So it's, oh, Diane's there. That's the joke. But it was this thing of them tricking NBC by saying, "Hey, we got a little change." And then boom, big difference. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So what I'm saying in this film, right?
Mhm.
There's a one-time edit. Is it a director's cut? I don't know. What's with these labels? But the one-time edit for the midnight showings of this, now movie theaters don't play films on actual film. It's all digital. And because it's digital, you can do magic. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, like you could release DLC, like day one patches and stuff like that. Look at Cats.
Sure. Come on, that was like a 3-week patch. Anyways, so Rogue One's coming out, and the movie premiered, and like, yay, that's good. That's good. So weeks later, it's midnight show, and Gareth Edwards was like, "Hey, Disney, we got a little patch we gotta do to this movie, okay? So can we do a little thing?" And like, "Garrett, you made Godzilla. We trust you. You started
I don't
the
know. Is
universe.
that enough?
You started the monster universe and brought it back to life. So we're trusting you with the keys to the Star Wars anthologies. So go do whatever you want with this key." And Garrett's like, "Thank you, Disney." It's about
What does Gareth
90%.
do?
So about 90% of the movie goes, right? Maybe like 75. I don't know percentages. So I'm not a math man. And it's the scene of Jin and Cassius are with K2SO, and K2SO's like, "Oh, there are 89 stormtroopers. Nah, the best we can do is make it 33% of the way." And Cassius Clay, actually Cassius Clay, Cassius talks to the dude over the headset. He's like, "Go for it." And instead of them going for it and whatever happens in the movie, right? Instead, boom, cut to a live stream. Gareth Edwards inside the Disney company building. Why, you may ask? He's in front of the Disney vault. And he's like, this movie's about fighting against the Empire, who's in power, and you have to stand up to them. So I'm gonna do that. And he lights a match and he throws it in the Disney vault, thus destroying the Disney vault and fighting against the true Empire, Disney. And then Disney's like, "No, no, 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 no." And they cut off the feed. And that's the midnight showing of Rogue One and no other showing ever. That's defeating the one true empire, like Jyn Erso was talking about in that monologue speech thing.
That actually kind of reminds me of the movie End of Evangelion, because like towards the middle or end of that movie, there's just a shot of the audience at one of the screenings. So like it's like
Whoa.
it's like if you see it in the theater, it's like it's staring back at you. It's just a mirror.
Is it like the old TV commercials for Paranormal Activity?
Kinda, yeah, actually. But before that was a thing, before the Paranormal Activity movies.
That's cool. That's cool.
I
think
that was a solid fix. I'll give you that.
A little touch of Frasier, all right. Oh, what's that taste, Juan? What's that taste? Do you taste it?
That tastes like Fraser Crane.
little like maybe tossed salads and scrambled eggs,
Nah, just Fraser Crane. It's the taste of Fraser Crane.
but not Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer, Fraser Crane, two completely different tastes.
Yeah, I don't want to taste the man who was in Transformers.
Oh, you mean $1 billion movie club friend of the show, Kelsey Grammer, star of Transformer,
Or
Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction? That sounds yeah. Because that's a Stanley Tucci one.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you fix this film?
All right. So I got like 2 or 3 different paths that they could go with this. The first one. The first one. So come with me for a sec. Come with me on this journey.
Will we be on a pure imagination?
So there was this anime called Naruto.
Okay.
It was pretty big back in its day. But then the sequel series came out called Boruto.
Sure.
And there was this one moment where Crunchyroll put out a tweet that's like, check out the story of Boruto's dad. Watch the entire series on Crunchyroll. So everyone memed that to hell and back. So what I'm saying is, at the end, they tease a movie. It's like, you saw Jin Urso's story. Now check out Jin Urso's dad. Boom, we get an entire movie about Mads Mikkelsen.
Wow. So there's a tease of a prequel film within the prequel film.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's one thing they can do. Second thing, I don't like how all these movies have to be just focused around like one story, where it's like you have the whole universe to work with. Why are you working with these few people? And we've talked about how they just keep using the Death Star. What if this was someone else building a Death Star? What if it was Bob?
You mean the portrayer of Leia in this movie, Bob?
Yeah, what if it was Bob who built this Death Star and they were trying to cancel the plans for this? And then by the end of the movie, it just washes up on shore, and then she's like, damn, these look good. And then it's Darth, and then you like see the face of the person, it's Darth Vader.
I'm sorry, so Bob is Darth Vader?
No. Bob loses the plans, and then it washes up on shore, and Darth Vader picks him up.
I see.
So that's the other. But like on the other hand, maybe we've been looking at this franchise the wrong way the entire time. Because it's called Star Wars, and we've been thinking of Star as like the stars in the night sky. But what if it was Star a la Dancing with the Stars?
Whoa, that's not what I thought you were going to do.
And really, it's about these huge iconic characters. So really, we're making the Darth Vader scene into a movie. And also, you know what? Let's just do Dancing with the Stars with these characters, like that connect Star Wars games.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it's an interpretive dance a la Charlie Kaufman.
No. I'm specifically talking about the game where they changed the Jason Derulo lyrics to Solo to I'm Solo, I'm Han Solo. Just make a movie out of that.
Were you aware Billy D. Williams actually was on Dancing with the Stars? He had to drop
So
out
he
after-
has experience with it. He could bring it. He could bring it back to this franchise.
He had to drop out after the first week because he was injured. Sorry, Billy D.
So those are my fixes. Those are my options. I've laid out multiple paths
So we're
of entry.
Bob, and there's a Despicable Me-esque dance sequence at the end, if you will.
Yes.
Wow. Crazy. Some great fixes there. Very great.
All I'm saying is, if we want it to be about this family, let's just go all in and just refocus on what the star in Star Wars is.
Redefining words. There's a science to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what science is?
It's objective fact.
And that is the best way to judge a film. All right.
Yes.
It's time to rank Rogue One, a Star Wars movie, in the $1 billion movie club list. Okay. So, as always, we're gonna flip a coin. Pawan,
Heads.
flip, flip, flip. Tails.
Hmm.
Huh. Pawan, start it off.
Miss Simpson, is this movie better or worse than Finding Dory?
I'm gonna go better.
Is this film better or worse than Titanic?
It's about an hour shorter. Better.
Is this film better or worse than Star Wars The Force Awakens?
I'm surprising myself. Better.
Is this film better or worse than Zootopia?
And I'm gonna say better again.
All right.
So we have a top 10 entry this week for between number 4 and 10, right?
Yep.
Rogue One, Star Wars story sits at number 7. Number 7 on our list. Rogue One, Star Wars story.
Nice,
The
nice.
7th greatest film to ever cross the $1 billion mark on the $1 billion ranking. Juan, let's recap the list.
All right. At 47, we have Pirates of the Caribbean, All Stranger Tides.
At 46, Alice in Wonderland.
45, Toy Story 3.
44, Avatar.
41, Transformers Dark of the Moon.
40, Avengers Age of Ultron.
38, Transformers Age of Extinction.
37, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
35, Captain America Civil War.
34, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
You really massacred my boy with that one. 33, The Dark Knight Rises.
32, The Dark Knight.
31, Marvel's The Avengers.
30, Minions.
28, The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey.
27, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
26, Jurassic Park.
25, Iron Man 3.
24, Frozen.
22, Jurassic World.
And tied at 21, we have Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Us, and Finding Dory.
Number 19, Titanic.
13, we have Star Wars The Force Awakens.
11, Zootopia.
At number 7, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Hey, we talked about that this week, didn't we?
Oh my God, that's crazy how podcasts work. Number 3, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Number 2, Furious 7.
And number 1, yes, you guessed it, Skyfall. That's a list of movies.
What a state this list is currently in. Who knows what the end will be?
Every time we look back at the list, I'm like, oh, where do we? Oh, we put that there. That was a choice.
Honestly, I'm gonna be a little bit upset if Star Wars Episode 1 ends up being the worst ranked Star Wars movie. I'm gonna be a little upset.
Juan, I'm gonna be straight with you now. It's not my least favorite Star Wars movie we're talking about, but who knows how science works? All right, science is very confusing.
Right. Well, thank you, dear listener, for joining us for another episode
Another episode of what?
of Billions.
Juan, what's the podcast name? Not the email.
Oh shoot, I forgot. Yeah, $1 Billion Movie Club. That's the podcast name.
Yep. Thank you for this week's episode of the $1 Billion Movie Club. I hope you enjoyed our discussion on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I am just confirming what is the next film we're discussing. Give me 1 second. Shout out as always to Maximus Mafia.
We're gonna be talking about Beauty and the Beast.
I am just double checking. It came out very close to Fate of the Furious, so I just want to make sure which one crossed the finish line first. And I am having trouble finding it because life sucks and it's hard to find facts when you need the fact to be told, especially when you're typing and it's hard to type because you're procrastinating.
Damn, we really ended this year of Disney.
Not yet. Not yet. We still have.
Well, we ended the 2016 year of Disney.
We did. We did. You know what's crazy? I was looking. If you look at what made money within the calendar year,
Mhm.
Rogue One is the second highest grossing in 2016. But Force Awakens made so much fucking money that even just its 2016 money is like the 10th highest grossing of the year.
Nice.
Any other shout outs you want to make?
Shout out to H2O. Great chemical combination.
Oh, I thought you meant the mermaid show for a second. It's like, why? Yes, it
You know,
is. Next week will be Beauty and the Beast, the live action Beauty and the Beast.
I also very much like mermaids. Mermaids are cool.
No one said they aren't.
I'm not saying I am a hater of that TV show you mentioned. I like mermaids. Do not attack me for my quote unquote perceived disdain for this show that Miss Simpson mentioned just because I was hyping up the liquid instead of the show. I just want that to be put out there.
You know, when people try to defend themselves for like a minute, I start questioning their intentions.
What quote unquote ulterior motive could I have here? All right.
One, I know you did some dirty stuff for the rebellion. All right, you assassinated people, you saboteured them.
All I'm saying is I like mermaids. All right. Mermaids are cool. Mermaids are great.
Yeah.
They live in the H2O, and I like the H2O. So, yeah.
Thank you. Remember to subscribe to us on the Spotify's, the Apple Podcast, the Google Podcasts, YouTube,
Our
leave a comment,
SoundCloud.
like our SoundClouds, and send an email. Pawan, what's that email again?
Billion.
Yes, we have billion and billions. We have multiple emails reserved because we one email address is not enough to handle all the emails. You guys are rabid. Is that the word I'm looking for? Rabid,
Yeah,
rabid,
that works. That works.
Hagrid. Are you Hagrid? Thank you. And remember, I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
And also with you.
I see you just went silent after your Mads Mikkelsen rant. Did you just want the audience to sit in the glory that is Mads Mikkelsen?
No, I didn't have too much to add. So I was like, you know, it's fine. Not all of them have to go the entire time.
I'll probably edit this part out or not. We'll see what happens.